right in the heart with a silver bullet.
Yeah. I think they plotting on me. Don't wipe their feet when they enter the L.A.R. I feel a cold stare. Think I ain't looking. Maybe because I'm focused. No hands out for the hopeless. Funny bullets, I caught some shots. Another piece of the puzzle connecting dots. You can find the truth of laughter and liquor. One more shot to an empty bottle. Then she gon' walk in like a model for me. Like I don't see her intentions all in my scope. At a time we were just friends with advice to land. Not special, I was dead broke, but we still got hope. Don't take my words, just pack and issue that raw dough. Just pack and issue that raw dough. Pack and issue that raw dough. To the people that listen, my people, they know that I do care. With your hands in the air, rocking side to side. Now my work, yeah, it's time to ride. Where my niggas at? My niggas ain't my niggas no more. Push me to the back, label to change up swag. I do it for us, I'm pro-black. Don't rock it the shit get. Wouldn't be so all type of African shit. Just rock it table fade, swag it till I'm made. Polo colors and fly kicks. Just polo colors and fly kicks. Exclusive shit, not get wet. Keep it coming, just don't stop. The revolution starts with shots. Bang.
I'm respectful to my people, and I want to represent my people, and I don't want to be a bad representative. I can't be blind, let the blind lead the blind, they all follow the
Now my mama said, baby, act like you got sense. They act like I only act right for Lent. Been living in purgatory, brown nosing for heaven. Not sure if I'm getting in, cause I ain't paid a reverend. Who looking at me when I ain't looking, judging my character? I can't put down my guard on this planet, back in the camera. Ready for my close-up, the lens gets bigger. Won't play me on BET, cause I am not a nigga. My heart is like a powder keg, ready to explode. Smell like strange food, cause I'm America's cologne. It started with the hello, think you're a nice fellow. You're ballin' like Carmelo, you treat you like a fellow. L.A.R. with the stars, turn a rapper to a prophet. Bulletproof 306, keep your hands in your pocket. Jordan rules for my life, you contain them, can't stop them. I'm niggas sky high, so the clouds can't drop them. My life is like a miracle, my words are just imperial. I'm edible, I'm audible, I'm digital, I'm visual. Spit like Komodo, go like Bruce Lee, Roy B. And the mean as bad as Mofo in the dojo. Life is so amazing and raps like Jesus. They said hip hop is dead, but today look like Easter.
Now I wake up in the morning, I'm black and handsome as ever. However, you see me as strange fruit, will it ever happen, not again. A crook and just a homicide, he know it's self-defense. But since I'm black and since he white, he got no common sense. That's 1969, and he ain't Jesus Christ. He ain't coming back on Easter, he ain't got a second life. You know I'm right? Hold up, look. Now the sirens in my window here and pull it over. License and registration, gun ain't never in the holster. Plus, that man black too, he wanna act too. A nigga with an attitude and a badge too. A couple tattoos, hoping I act a fool so he can squeeze too. But it ain't nothing different, they the same thing. They pull him over, he gon' get the same thing. Maybe 2 up in his brain, 21 gun salute. Last words was I'm a cop, they last heard fuck you. And he ain't coming back, you know I'm black like Jesus. But I ain't coming back for Easter, y'all say goodbye. Everybody cry, second line. But when the music stop, move on. Cause I ain't coming home, they know I'm black like Jesus. But I ain't coming back for Easter, everybody cry. Y'all say goodbye, second line. But when the music stop, move on. Cause I ain't coming home, I'm and now she on welfare. Lost said that they can't live there, so we ain't there. And life ain't fair, but the food free and the rent cheap. His roaches where you sleep. He still came around and taught you baseball. Bought a Barbie dolls, he raised all of y'all. And now the kids adults, they both up in the court. She want that child support, he on that child support. But he ain't never taught him baseball, and she ain't never bought him Barbie dolls. They both never there, no, never, not at all. Saying, well, pull your pants up, go while your ass out. They looking back saying, why, y'all ain't ever in the house? You got it backwards, don't you? I'm saying, cause we still preaching unity. And it's supposed to be family first in community. Got it in church to $1 for your blessing. We made in God's image, thinking with Satan's mind. They got us crossed up, now Judas and Caesar. America bury me, but I ain't coming back for Easter. Yeah, they know I'm black like Jesus. But I ain't coming back for Easter, y'all say goodbye. Everybody cry, second line. But when the music stop, move on. Cause I ain't ain't coming home, they know I'm black like Jesus. But I ain't coming back for each to everybody cry. Y'all say goodbye, second line. But when the music stop, move on. Cause I ain't coming home, I'm gone.
What's happening, man? What's going on, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Subscribe or die trying. You see the thumbnail. It's gonna be a live that I'm feeling a little bit better, but this is gonna be a really man talk type of discussion today for a lot of you cats out here who like to be on the internet doing dumb stuff. A lot of y'all have taken this manosphere content and sometimes red pill content, but not necessarily red pill content, but manosphere content out of context, because everything isn't about relationships. And this happens, and I've seen it for years. When we do lives, when people do videos, when people do podcasts and live streams, and I know y'all gravitate to the relationship stuff. I don't care about the race. I don't care about the gender. I don't care about the class of a person. Y'all gravitate to the relationship stuff. And the issue with that is you gravitate to it and you complain that you're gravitating to it. So here's the thing. Shut the hell up. Stop. Like, I had to sit down and really, really take a step back. Take a step back and think about life experience as a man. My life experience as a man, my life experience as a 42-year-old black man in America. And I started thinking about it and comparing it to people older than me, people in my age group, people younger than me. And I started realizing something, because I was listening to other people. And I'm like, you know what? A lot of people don't have life experiences. A lot of people didn't have a childhood like a person like myself did. They don't have a childhood. A lot of y'all didn't grow up and ride your bike and fall down and scrape your knee and people tell you, hey, stop crying, toughen up, ride. A lot of y'all didn't have that. And I'm not saying if you had a father in your life or if you didn't have a father in your life. Y'all just didn't have the experience of falling down and having to pick yourself back up. You didn't have that experience. I didn't realize how many people didn't have the experience of, playing catch with somebody, and them, they throwing you a heater. They playing pepper with you, whether it's football or baseball. They throwing peppers at you to make sure you don't so you get accustomed to being uncomfortable and understand that everything ain't gonna be tossed and spoon fed to you, and you're gonna have to realize you can do more than you think you're capable of. They didn't teach that to you. A lot of people don't have that experience. That it's always not about relationships. Not as far as the male-female dynamic. A lot of y'all don't get it. A lot of y'all don't get the nuance of sometimes people using relationship as an avenue to speak to you about principles. Because a lot of folks nowadays, they're grown teenagers. You might be 35 and yeah, you went to the prom, but you still mentally in high school. You still having high school experiences. They got parents out here who are mentally in high school. Grandparents who are mentally in high school, maybe college. And people don't realize the only way to communicate with some of you is to use relationships as a dynamic for you to understand that you need to grow up. Because it's not all about relationships, it's about principles. And some of y'all just don't have good principles. A lot of y'all don't have nobody's telling you you need to have a struggle story in life to be black. But people are telling you you need to have some adversity in your life to know what you're actually made of. A lot of y'all don't really have adversity. Y'all don't even know what adversity is. And when I was talking yesterday, I started going off and I started thinking about it, afterwards, like, you know what? When I said a lot of y'all don't even know y'all family history, I feel like I'm accurate with that. A lot of y'all don't know your parents and grandparents and your great grandparents' history. Whether you might not talk to both sides of your family. We're far removed from people having family reunions on a regular basis. You don't know who did what and who went through what and who overcame what. You don't know. You just don't know. So all of this stuff is sensationalism. And because if somebody's not sensational enough for you, you're not going to listen. Like, there was a time when I was a child where an adult, if you were a child or a teenager and you decided to talk crazy to an adult, you're going to get the taste slapped out of your mouth. Not literally, figuratively. And all the adults in the room was like, hey, should have known that. Now we're living in a time where a lot of adults never got the taste slapped out of their mouth for being out of pocket. They don't know what that is. They don't know what that is. They don't know what it is. So they think they can just go around talking to people any kind of way, treating people any kind of way. We had a certain standard of common sense. Now I see it doesn't exist as much. Because when people used to have conversations, when there were a group of people in a room having conversations, when you were a child, you had to earn your way to the adult table. From how you dealt with adversity and how you thought as a person and how you operated and moved and how you responded. They didn't let children at the adults table talk. You had to sit there and listen because you didn't know what you were talking about until you found out some things about life, because people warned you about life and told you the things that could happen, but you didn't want to listen. A lot of us didn't want to listen. And then when life happened, then we came to the adult table because it's like, okay, I was hard-headed. Now I see what's going on. Exactly. So now people are having conversations. And it's a lot of grown folks who's supposed to be grown by age, but you need to shut the hell up because you're not an adult. Because when we're talking about this conversation, you interject something that don't make sense into it. This is what happens nowadays. And see, there was a point in time when people told you, hey, shut up. We're not even talking about that. What are you talking about? You sound stupid right now. We're talking about this and you just brought this out of left field just because you felt like it. Go sit down somewhere. Don't come over here with that stupid stuff. But now it's to the point where y'all don't know how to shut up being stupid. That's sad. People don't know how to shut up when they're stupid because, hey, it's just hey, I can just talk about whatever I want to talk about whenever I feel like it. No, you can't. No, you can't. No, you cannot. See, a lot of y'all, and I had to realize this, man. I was just thinking it over. A lot of y'all don't know what it's like to actually know the actual history behind why things are happening, because you don't, you just want to live in the moment without ever learning the past. So you just wind up, being blind on purpose. And people use this manosphere content, this red pill content as a reason. When people say, hey man, you got to work out and get your body together. You know why people are telling you that now? Because most people are lazy now. See, I come from an era where kids got abused and they wanted to work out and get stronger to never be abused again. Whether it was in the home or outside the home. They was like, oh no, it's not gonna keep happening to me. That's how people started lifting weights. Kids started playing sports and they felt like they were, I'm big and I'm bad. And somebody came in there and crushed their little confidence. They knocked them smooth out. And the kid was like, you know what? Never again. I'm gonna get bigger and stronger and faster. Nobody's ever gonna do me like that again. Kids watch their family get abused. Whether it was by other family members or by the outside world. And they was like, you know what? I'm gonna get bigger and stronger, and I'm not gonna allow these people to do that to me. And I'm not gonna put myself in a position to be treated like that. And a lot of times, a lot of y'all don't realize a lot of our family members took a lot of ass whippings in life, figuratively and literally, to protect us from ever having to take them. Some of those people could have fought back and crushed people, but they didn't, because they knew if they were to crush somebody, they might have got killed or a life sentence. And you would have been unprotected. So you thought they were soft until you had to grow up and test them yourself and realize, whoa, maybe they ain't as weak as I thought. But now the only way a lot of people could realize it, realize that, I need to lift weights and get in shape is because of what? Because I want to be cute. Nobody y'all think that's all people cared about? That's what y'all thought people cared about? Just that? That's what it was? No, but people got to package it in relationship talk for you to listen. That's the sad part about it. People got to package it in relationship talk to give you the principles of, hey man, you need to take better care of yourself. You need to be in shape and be healthy. Why? Because you can never live the life you want to live if you're sick and weak and fragile. Exactly. And the internet can save people if you use it right. I came from an era where we love all this superhero stuff you seen, and everybody wants to be, loves Marvel and DC, and we all watch cartoons. We grew up on that, man. We grew up on that. But and wrestlers, we grew up on that. And kung fu movies, we grew up on that. We grew up on all of that stuff. And then there was a point when we were children, I think I could fly. You jumped and you fell clean on the ground. Hope you didn't jump and land on concrete, because you hit that ground so hard, I can't fly. You thought you was Batman. You swung a little piece of rope around, you thought you could swing on it, and you hit the floor. You're like, whoa, this is okay, this is just make-believe. It's not real. I can't climb up a wall in the middle of the night, with some yarn. It ain't gonna work. And that was for a reason. It was for a reason. We had to learn the hard way because we were children. And one of the biggest lessons you had to learn was, inside you felt like a superhero. Inside you felt like a superhero. But the outside world don't work like that. So part of the issue was I can't turn it on and be Superman. I can't be lazy 6 days a week, and then on the 7th day, I'm going to turn it on and be Superman, and I can do whatever I feel like it. This is what you got now with society. You got a society of people who really haven't grown out of believing, oh man, one day I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna be a Super Saiyan, Superman, Batman. I'm gonna be a Black Panther, Wakanda leader. All I gotta do is I'm gonna fall. I was gonna walk down the street and lightning was gonna strike and I was gonna trip over a rock and I was gonna land in some water and the lightning was gonna hit me and it was magically I was gonna be a superhero and I was gonna wake up and I was gonna live forever. And you 35 acting like this, crying that life ain't working out the way you want it to. Because you didn't stumble into the magic superhero moment of serum that accidentally happened and now you're supercharged. You got adults really doing this in their heads. And then it all leads into relationship talk. See, if my relationships don't work out the way I want, my superpowers ain't kicked in yet, I'm gonna be alpha man. How you gonna be alpha man when you ain't done an alpha thing in your life? How? Where are the life experiences at anymore, man? I started out saying how many of y'all fell off the bike, how many of y'all had to play pepper. A lot of y'all don't even know what pepper is. Pepper is like if you play baseball. You know, you and another person got the glove and they slinging that thing at you as hard as they can. You got to catch it and sling it back. They play pepper in football, throwing the hardest, fastest pass they can at you. And you got to catch it, sling it back. Now, what pepper is now is a machine doing it, because you don't have two people there to test each other. This is why people told you to go to college or go to the military and get an education and get a good job. See, this is what people forget. It's not always about relationships. A lot of the people who feel like, I went to college and my family told me to go to college, get an education, and get a good job, and that's not how it worked. They didn't tell your ass to go to college, get an education in some dumb shit, and get a basic job. They didn't tell you that. They told you to go to college, get an education, and get a good job. Find what you like to do and get a good job at it. Just because you didn't apply for it, don't mean they told you wrong. Even though I understand the cost of college has went to astronomical heights, they didn't tell you to, go to college to work at Starbucks. They would have told you, hey, just go work at Starbucks. There's no reason for you to go to college to work at Starbucks. They didn't tell you life was going to be easy. Y'all went somewhere else with this, man. Hiding behind relationship talk. Hiding behind relationship talk. Because everything has to be about relationships. It's not about relationships. It's not about male and female relationships. They told you about that. You want to know the truth about college? Because I'm gonna start saying the things because I'm starting to realize people didn't tell you, or you didn't either. Because back in the day, what happened was people told you everything that they knew when you were 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 by the time you was out the house. They told you everything they knew. They showed you everything they knew. Now, it was your choice if you was going to use it or not. But what was happening back in the day was people kept coming back home like, yo, you know what? You told me about that. I just didn't listen. See, now, y'all not listening, and then y'all acting like nobody ever told you. People told you. And even when you use this relationship stuff, how many times do people have to tell you what to do to get in a reasonable relationship or a situationship? How many times do you listen? Not many. That's why you back over and over and over and over and over again. Well, what else I got to do? You didn't listen to the first 20 things people told you to do. There ain't no magic No magic way to do it. No magic pill. There's simple steps you got to take. One step after the other. It's simple steps you got to take. And a lot of people don't want, you to believe, a lot of people don't want to take the simple steps because it doesn't look luxurious. It ain't over the top. Now the thing about the college I'm getting at, people told you, go to college and be a doctor, be a lawyer. That's not what you wanted to be. Cool, no problem. They didn't tell you to go to college to work at McDonald's. They didn't tell you that. They didn't tell you that. And they tell you if you don't want to go to college, go to the military. They told you that. See, it wasn't always about relationships, but you wanted to go to college and party. See, a lot of people went to college. See, a lot of y'all student loan debt ain't about your education. A lot of people's student loan debt is about partying, shopping, drugs, and vacations. And vacations. That's what it is about. You gonna say, I owe $90,000 in student loans. How many times your ass went to Florida? How many times your ass went to Mexico? How many times your ass went to Dominican Republic or Jamaica? How many times you did that? How many times you went to a concert with your student loan money? How many times you did that? How many times you thought you was going? How many ounces did you buy with your student loan money? You just want to say the school is overpriced. It is. How many times, you didn't have the money for the dorm? How many times you decided to stay at the dorm and they paid for the dorm, knowing an apartment complex was cheaper and you would have had money back? How many times you took that money and you took the extra money and you did something and you went shopping with it? How many of y'all sneaker collection came from your high school student loan money? I mean, college student loan money. How many times was that? You just want to say, okay, the school was overcharging. How many times people told you, yo, man, I know you don't like the schools in this state, but the schools here in this state might cost $10,000 a semester. The schools that you want to go to out of the state is going to cost $25,000. Maybe you shouldn't go there because you didn't get a scholarship. You wasn't attempting to get a scholarship. You wasn't attempting to be the smartest. You get what I'm saying? I was in college with people asking their parents for money so they could buy weed. I was there. You get what I'm saying? I was there. It's not always about relationships. I was there. Watching people take their student loan money and refund checks and put down payments on luxury cars. I was there. I need a Gucci belt. You need a Gucci belt to go to class at 9 a.m. 3 days a week? That's what you need a Gucci belt for? No, because you're trying to impress some chicks, right? And then when you, man, these loans kicking my butt. Fam. Because your loans would have been lower if you wouldn't have done some of that dumb stuff. I gotta live. Okay, well, pay for that. Pay for that. Real talk, pay for that. Because it's not always about relationships. A lot of y'all don't have those experiences for some odd reason. A lot of y'all having these, family issues and experience. Look, you ain't gotta tell me. You ain't gotta tell me. Watch this. Patrick, watch what I'm about to say. How many people was using their refund checks to shop, buy lean, buy weed, and sometimes try to sell it to make up the difference? Should I add, trying to put trying to get a candy paint job for some of these fools? You know what I'm saying? Buy some $300, jeans or buy a grill. Should I add that? How many chicks got student loan debt because they kept using their money to buy weave? Is that a relationship issue? You know, is that a relationship issue? No, common sense. Now it's becoming a norm. It's slap right, you know, some slabs, yeah. You know, it's becoming a norm now. See, it's not people who are just young and dumb anymore. People are 30 and dumb, 40 and dumb, 50 and dumb. And a lot of y'all don't know why y'all think this is normal. It's not normal. A lot of the people that are 40 and 50 and dumb, they chose to be that way. Let me tell y'all something. There was a time where when you was 18, you had to get up out of the house. I don't care if you was going to college. I don't care if you was going, exactly, the casino too. I don't care if you was going to college. I don't care if you're going to the military. You're grown, you got to get out. Because a lot of our parents and grandparents were struggling. And the reason why they were struggling is because they were taking care of us. And it was like, you know what? We looked at it as it was a shame in it if you was 18, 19, 20, 21, 25. It was shameful to say, yo, I'm not making it out here in the real world. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move back in with my mom. I'm gonna move back in here with my grandma. It was shameful. Cause it's like, no. They were struggling to make it with you. So now as an adult, you're gonna go back there and you still not gonna contribute and you're gonna have them struggle more. That was shameful. See, now families have got more well off than they used to be. And now a lot of y'all don't have an issue with going back home. A lot of y'all don't have, it's not even a second thought like, oh, I could go back to my mama's. I could go back to my dad's. I could go back to my uncles and my aunts. And I could go back. Y'all, too many people think they could go back and live with somebody in their family. That's not what it was for. See, that's not about relationships. That's about people not being honest about what was and what is right now. You know, that's another thing about it though, Patrick. I'm trying to figure out what happened. I knew that as a teenager. I knew that black men didn't have the same opportunities as black women as a teenager. Because see, if you talk to guys in their 50s and their 40s, we got harassed by the police before we were even teenagers. We got guns pulled us before we was in teenagers. You get what I'm saying? We got stories of getting smacked around by the cops, going to school, coming from school. We never seen that happen to the girls. We knew that to be true. I got kicked out of the house when my younger female cousin came to stay, and she was a troublemaker. She got to stay in my house after being kicked out of her own dang old house, and I got kicked out because she showed up. You know, like we knew this already. We knew how unfair it was from jump. It was a phase. I'm trying to figure out what happened. What happened to the point that all of a sudden we don't know it was unfair anymore? You got people in their 20s. I saw a clip of these teenage black boys listening to their white teacher talking about like white supremacy and this, that, and the third. And these kids may be 13, 14, maybe 15 years old, like freshmen, sophomores in high school. And they were shocked at what the teacher was saying. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, we've come a long way that black boys could reach teenage years and not know about the racial aspect of America. I knew that before I was 12. I knew how unfair America would be to me because of my race and gender before I was a teenager. Saying about the women's side. I'm talking about, you know, listen. I got arrested in 8th grade because my friends were playing Ding Dong Ditch in a white neighborhood. And I was mad at them because I knew we was going to get arrested. Because we was black in a white neighborhood. I really got hemmed up by the cops when I was a teenager for walking outside of my front door because I was in a trap type neighborhood at the time. What you doing? Coming outside. Like, yo, what are you like? I don't understand the experiences that people are exactly. Like when you were 12, we knew those things. We knew the history. It wasn't always about relationships. We knew the workings of America. You knew how unfair America was as a black man, as a black boy. Every year when you had to find out about the time you hit about 4th or 5th grade, when you realized Black History Month talked about Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and slavery every year, and then you go home and somebody will tell you about somebody else that you never heard, and somebody else that you never heard, and somebody else that you never heard. That's the problem. Like, I'm trying to figure out what happened. How much, it looks like, either your families have sheltered you so much from the real world, or you decided to not brush up and learn about the real world, that all people are concerned about, is relationships to ignore the reality. And I'm just talking about how to interact with other people and other groups, period. You know what I'm saying? There was a time where like if I could introduce a grown man, maybe in his 30s, to a grown man now in their 30s in America, a black man from like 88 that was in their 30s, and a black man from 2022 in their 30s, and let them meet and sit down and talk to each other, I'm gonna tell you what will wind up happening. The black guy from the 80s will be like, what the fuck happened to you, you soft little bitch? What the fuck is wrong with you? Because a lot of this stuff people don't realize. In a lot of ways, the black family financially has progressed, but black common sense has really decreased in the last 60 years. Before I was born, it was because I was hearing, as a child, I was hearing people make sure, like, yo, don't listen to that person over there because they stupid. Don't listen to nothing they got to say because they stupid. You hear less and less people calling people stupid. You hear less and less people say, hey, man, there used to be, I used to talk to people about like all the liquor stores you see out now. There used to be winos and crackheads when I was a child that'll tell you, hey, don't drink. Don't look. People used to listen to winos, crackheads, and drug dealers in the opposite way that they do now. Winos, crackheads, drug dealers, gangsters, they will all tell you, hey, don't live this. Don't do this. Don't live this. This is not for you. This is not what you think. Winos will tell you, hey man, when I was a kid, you know what I'm saying, I was doing good in school, or I was good in sports, and something happened and I started drinking. Something traumatic happened to them and they started drinking, and the drinking took over. And they'd be like, yo man, I thought I could get over it, and now I'm 30 something years old and I'm here begging for change outside of a liquor store to get drunk. And that's, when I was a teenager, when you was 30, you looked 40 and 50. Like people in the 80s and somewhat of the 90s, when they hit 30, 40, and 50, they look way older than they do now. You gotta understand, like, y'all need to go look at some of those videos of 80s R&B songs. Them motherfuckers look old. They used to, they crackheads, they're crackheads have breakdowns. They'll tell you, hey, don't ever use this stuff. Don't ever, I was working a nice job, my dad died or my mom died or I got in a car wreck and, everything went down here and I started doing drugs and now I'm in here begging for money and stealing from people. Don't ever do this. This will mess your life up. This is what crackheads will tell you. Even though they were still stealing and scamming, they would have breakdowns and you would be a teenager listening to this stuff. Guys who were quote unquote gangsters and OGs, they would tell you, hey dog, it might look glamorous, but it ain't, no. You don't want to think you can get locked up every day. You don't want to have to look over your shoulder every day and get shot at and get this person shot at and get this person. My friends died. People getting locked up. I just got out of jail for the 5th time. This ain't what you want. It's so much more in this world for you to be than this. Don't do it. Yeah. They used to tell you that. And now, you got guys that are the opposite. You got women who are the opposite. Like, oh, this is fun. They telling you it's fun because they miserable and they want you to go along with them. That's why I used to talk about the hairstyle thing. I'm not gonna front. What's up? Keep doing your thing, sister. I'm not gonna front to y'all. Like, I know I'm bald, but I used to have an S curl, and I used to do the, the waves and the fades and all that other stuff. The issue, nowadays, men shouldn't look at their hair as their crown, like a girl does. See, it's not always about relationships. It's about, hey, man, we used to be concerned about hairstyles. Like, we couldn't wear braids or afro to school as boys because, we would get kicked out of school for that. Coaches would make us cut our hair to play sports. And it was really some sucker stuff. Because if we grew out braids or dreads or afro, that had nothing to do with us, with our learning ability. But it was to quote unquote assimilate us and make the thing make white people feel more comfortable that we were assimilated. But the other thing was, they had to learn how stupid they were. Because a lot of times people were growing out hair for different reasons. If you played football, you grew out your hair as cushion because it lessened the probability of concussions. That's why you grew out your hair. That's why a lot of football players used to have braids, and that's how the dreads grew, but it was actually afros and braids. Because when you had that hair in the helmet, you would have less, your bell wouldn't get rung as much, depending on which position you play. People had to learn that. People had to tell coaches that, yeah, coach, yeah, that's why I got it, because I don't get my bell rung like that no more. The hair is cushion. White people couldn't understand that because their hair was straight. Right, it would just be well groomed, keep it together. But now you guys are out here growing out hairstyles and dyeing your hair, and I just want to shake my dreads. It's like, yo, bro, what is the significance of this? To be fashionable? That's it? That's why I just want to look pretty. Man, ain't nobody got time for that. You having dyed tips of your hair does not help you in life. Like, we did we did get that. If you were in high school and college, you were a little bit more free to express yourself with your dress and your style. But that doesn't mean you get to go into the adult world and work with that and go, yeah, I could just be whatever I want to be and feel like however I want to feel. No. No. That's not what it was. A lot of y'all, and I brought this up before, a lot of y'all want to be Allen Iverson, but y'all forget Allen Iverson had one tattoo and a fade when he started in the NBA. Even he went about it that way. One tattoo and a fade. He grew out his hair. He added the tattoos during the thing. And now people just started out being an image. And that's the problem. This ain't always about relationships. It's about image. Some of y'all took on a rebellious image and y'all had nothing to rebel against in the first place. You were never disenfranchised in the first place. You were never put out the pasture in the first place. You didn't come from a bad situation, a bad environment. You did. You came from a good family and you was trying to, be black from watching Rap City. That's not. See, a lot of y'all are Carlton posing as a gangster. And that's a problem. And this is why I say it's not always about relationships. Sometimes it's about principles. It's about understanding, man. They used to tell us it's more than one way to skin a cat, which means it was more than one way to do something. It was more than one way to become something. It was more than one way to become successful. It was more than one way to get a job done. But for some odd reason, we went to something completely different. Completely different. Everybody, you got a bunch of young men and grown men and men that should know better out here just trying to be unique to be sexy. It's nothing worse than a grown man who all he know how to do is be cute. And it's nothing worse than a grown man who's listening to figure out how to be cute as a grown man and not actually done anything productive with their life. Y'all keep thinking all this stuff is about relationships. It's not. It's hard to have these conversations because when people talk about the family dynamic and the community dynamic, a lot of y'all don't know what that is because a lot of y'all, y'all didn't create your own family or y'all not cool with your family. And some people aren't cool with their family because they're the black sheep. And other people aren't cool with their family is because their family actually had standards and they just wanted to be a rebel. And that's the kind of people I'm talking to right now. See, a lot of y'all don't want to hear some of the things that we really trying to tell y'all. But I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. For you young folks, for you young men, for you young women who are in your teens and 20s. Everybody in your social media circle, 5 and 10 years from now, if you think doing a little hip dance and walking and laughing at stupid content about sexual innuendo gonna make their life a whole lot better, in 5 or 10 years, you're gonna see these people busted. They're gonna be busted. That's what's gonna happen. Y'all don't realize how many people, us people in our 40s, know on Facebook and on Instagram and on Snapchat and even on YouTube who went down a path to be social media influencers, or how many people we knew who just threw it all in to be a rapper, or threw it all in to be an athlete, and threw it all in to be some type of actor, entertainer. And when it didn't work out for them, they did not know what to do with their lives at all. They quit at life. That's why it's not always about relationships. I know you hear people, man, I don't want to work a job for 10, 20, 30 years, the same job doing the same thing. I feel you, but here's the problem. I want to work for myself. Well, here's the problem. If you work for yourself, and believe you me, a lot of you ain't got the work ethic to work for yourself. See, that's what we don't want to talk about with some people. If you want to be an entrepreneur, go be an entrepreneur. Cool. But when you're an entrepreneur, you got to put in them hours, man. Because you're not going to know how to be an entrepreneur, and know the ins and outs of being an entrepreneur and being successful at it. You're going to have to make some mistakes. You're going to have to suffer. You're going to have to pay for that. It's going to have to come out your pocket. All these people who are telling you certain things about Let me tell y'all something. There are people out here who are telling you how to be business entrepreneurs, and they tell you about credit and the credit scores and credit debt and using other people's money to make money. But you know what they never tell you? They never tell you, you're still gonna have to pay that money back. Don't believe somebody who tells you if you get a great credit score, you can get a lot of money in credit and you can start a business. That's true. But guess what? They're not going to want their money back in credit, okay? Don't think you could just credit your way through life. I know some of y'all people play that game where y'all think, okay, I got this credit and I can get that credit, I can get that credit. No. Credit gets paid in cash. You use credit to make money. And the money you make pays off that credit. And then you get into profit. You don't credit your way into profit. All right? A lot of y'all tripping. Oh, I'm gonna get some more credit. And don't be mistaken when I say the stuff I'm saying. Some of y'all people don't realize there are people out here buying cars and jewelry and what would you call that? And putting their lifestyle on social media, all on credit. All on credit. And the reason they're doing that is to fake it till you make it, so you can buy their program. But then there are other people who use on the credit and they actually set up businesses, and their businesses actually pay for their lifestyle. They use the credit, to keep good credit and have good business credit. But they actually created business and business plans that actually generate money that pays off that credit and has profit and pays off everybody. You get what I'm saying? And that's how they work. It's a difference. Everybody want to be a social media influencer. I want to get views. I want to get likes. I want to get shares. I want to get super chats. I want to get donations. They don't want it in credit, do they? They want it in cash. See what I'm saying? So it's not always about relationships, man. It's about principles. There ain't no easy way to make it in life. There ain't no, and I understand that life can be unfair. You see people who are successful in life and you trying to figure out how the hell did that happen for them. Life is funny like that, man. In America, it's funny like that, where you see people who work hard and they dotted all their I's and crossed their T's their whole life, and they tried to make it work and it just didn't work for them. You see people, and then you see other people stumble into success, and then they sell you some bullshit that you could stumble into success like them. They didn't plan it, it just happened, okay? There's a lot of people who start businesses that are unsuccessful. There's a lot of people who start social media pages that are unsuccessful. There's a lot of people who play sports that are unsuccessful. There's a lot of people who create products that are unsuccessful. We only talk about the successes, and that's fine. Oh my goodness. But we don't talk about the successful people who how many times they failed. That's what we try to be great. You might have to fail that stuff over and over and over again. You might have to endure years and years and years of not being good enough, of not garnering the quality of your product or what you put out there. You don't get the returns of what you put out there. That's what happened. But it's not always and that's my point. It's about life sometimes. It's not about relationships. Sometimes we can't talk about life because all people want to listen to is relationships. Sometimes we can't talk about life because people don't want to deal with life, so they want to pivot and make it about relationships. Life is more important than relationships. I guarantee you, if you went to the doctor tomorrow and they told you were sick, like, let me tell y'all something. Like, a few years back, I wound up having a thyroid issue. I had Graves' disease. I still have it. But I got to do this, and this to get myself back to good health. I wasn't in the doctor's office like, yo, man, but these chicks out here. No, that was a relationship issue. That's not a relationship issue. That's a life issue. You know, my friends had cancer and they beat it. They wasn't saying, hey, you got this kind of cancer, you got to go through chemo, and it's like, he's sitting there, yeah, but these bros out here ain't da-da-da-da-da. No, you got to beat cancer. See what I'm saying? I remember getting in a car wreck. I had months and months of rehab. It wasn't about, oh, these relationships not going da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You know, exactly. A lot of y'all, and I appreciate you saying that, a lot of y'all don't go, I feel for a lot of people who, in some ways, I'm happy that you don't have to deal with a lot of adversity. And in other ways, I feel sorry for a lot of people who don't have to deal with a lot of adversity. Because a lot of y'all use relationship as life adversity when it's not. There's other shit going on in life if you actually live in life that is far more paramount than relationships. Far more. A lot of this stuff became superficial. Very superficial. Because I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think, you know, when I was at my coworker friend's funeral, about a couple weeks ago, a few weeks back, like 3-4 weeks back, his brother said he was 40, his brother's 44. And he said, you know, I'm 44 years old, and this is my first major loss. And I said it before when I talked about that. I said, man, it's a blessing to be 44 and not have had a major loss in life. And when I say loss, you know, I'm not just talking about life. I'm talking about traumatic experiences, right? I talked to my lady about this a while back. I said, you know, one of the problems with the current adults and people who are younger is why you see the chaos with all of these people now and they're too old is because they didn't really have any real adversity as children and teenagers. That's why you see people in their 20s and 30s out here fighting in the street, fighting on vacation, causing problems everywhere they go, looking for issues. That's why you see these young kids running around here with guns on them with super long clips. Oh, I got ops. No, you don't. See, let me explain something to y'all, man. For all you young cats who swear to God, y'all got ops out here and y'all need to protect yourself, I'm gonna tell you what you really have. You have enemies because you're a fucking crook. See that you don't have ops. Y'all act like y'all got people who want to hurt you because because they're jealous that you're a good person. You're out here doing criminal shit. You're stealing from people, you're robbing people, you're selling dope to people, you're scamming people, and now you got ops. Of course you got ops. You're fucking crook. You're not an angel. If you didn't want to have ops, guess what? Stop getting into criminal shit. You wouldn't have ops. It's that simple. Hold on for a second. Sorry about that. I had to blow my nose. I'm still sick. You know, a lot of y'all, you know, don't have ops. A lot of y'all put it out there and you're getting back what you put out into the world. You don't have somebody against you for no reason. It's BS. And a lot of y'all creating this conflict and y'all creating ops because you never actually had an issue and situation. See, let me run this back a little bit. For all the people who like the street culture, let me show y'all how this actually went. In the 80s and the 90s, they used to have house parties. In the 80s and 90s, they used to have troublemakers. 80s, 90s, 2000s used to have house parties, and used to have people who were troublemakers. And troublemakers would go to parties and start fights with people and ruin the party. Sometimes have shootouts, ruin the party. And this is what happened, just organically. People will go, hey, such and such is throwing a party. And like, who throwing it? Oh, okay, yeah, I'm cool with them. Who coming? Oh, they gonna be there, and they gonna be there, and they gonna be there, and they gonna be there. Cool. And then they say, such and such might show up. Oh, I ain't going. Every time that person show up, it's always a problem. They always coming for drama. I ain't going. And then, and what happened was, when we would say people that throw parties at people's houses, their family will be there, the adults will be there, and they be like, look, I invited these people. If this person show up, or this person show up, or this person show up, they can't come in. And he used to have adults like, yo, what's your name? Nah, bro, you can't come in here. I already heard that you caused trouble. Man, I'm gonna go to my car. Go to your car if you want. Go to your car and try to come back here. I bet you ain't gonna make it. And that's how they would run people off for parties. And that's when you saw the evolution, and you got all these quote unquote street people throwing little gangster parties by themselves, in their own little group, because they was ruining people's house parties. House parties stopped because all you want to be thugs out here was ruining people's houses, to the point that actual adults had to start breaking their foot off in teenagers' asses, because y'all was going to people's houses messing up their stuff. And then they had to come to your family house and say, hey, yo, that was your son. Your son came to my house with a pistol, tried to shoot up the house at a party because he was mad about some little situation with a girl. So, hey, it is what it is. But see, now, y'all think it's all good. Now y'all wondering, what? We can't never go places no more. No. People, what you've seen is the evolution of people not inviting people places anymore. I roll in a small circle. You know why? Because I don't want to be around you. Because if you cause a problem, I already know what's going to go left. That's why when you go out nowadays, people get irritated with people so quickly. Because it ain't just about relationships, it's about image. Yeah, I talked about this, let me tell you, for you cats, for you grown men and young men out here who like sagging. Why are you going out to a club? Why are you going out to a concert or a comedy show? Why are you going to a basketball game or a football game? And I see it, 20s, 30s, sometimes 40s, you sagging. Why are you dancing in front of another man with your butt and your drawers showing? And then you think that's not going to be a problem. If somebody got to tell you, hey, dog, if I go to a concert and you stand up in front of me, and it's one thing that I can't see the stage, it's another thing if I see your ass. And I gotta push you out the way. And you get mad. Man, what? Don't put your hands on me. Don't put your ass in my face, dumbass. I'm a grown man. I don't want to see your ass in public. See, a lot of y'all, I'm talking about some real stuff right now. It's not always about relationship, it's about image. That's my song. I don't care that that's your song, bro. Dance to your song without having your ass in another person's face. What's the problem with that? What's the problem with that? What's the problem with that? See, it always ain't about relationships. A lot of y'all are using, relationships, and y'all running from the real life issues. Because a lot of y'all are doing stupid stuff to think y'all gonna impress certain y'all saying y'all doing stuff to impress chicks, and a lot of y'all don't want to hear this, but what it is a lot of times, a lot of y'all are doing fake stuff to act like you're trying to impress chicks, but that's who you want to be. See, a lot of y'all posing to be certain things that you're not, to act like you're, to try to quote unquote get women. That's why a lot of you guys are trying to be a fake alpha. Oh, I'm trying to do it for the women. No, you're not. No, you're not. Because if you was trying to do it for the women, you were actually trying to get women. Y'all doing it like I was talking earlier, because in your mind, you're trying to be an alpha superhero. You're trying to be an image. And when you're trying to be an image out here, now you got to deal with the image that you're putting out. What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with you wanting to be a rebel if you're in a rebellious environment. If you around other rebels, have at it. But see, now y'all taking it too far. Y'all want to be rebels in the classroom. Y'all want to be rebels in the church. Y'all want to be rebels in the movie theater. Y'all want to be rebels at a concert. Y'all want to be rebels, at a family event. It's not always about relationships. You remember not too long ago when they had the story about the lady who went to Turkey Leg Hut naked because they had a dress code? I don't like their dress code, so I'm gonna fly. She flew from like the East Coast to Houston to take off all her clothes and walk in a restaurant naked as if that's some, as if she's some type of civil rights leader. She was the dumbest motherfucker I've seen in my life at the time. That's not about relationships. That's about stupidity. The things people are willing to do for attention it has nothing to do with relationships half the time. It has to do with principles. And sometimes what I'm about to say is going to sound messed up, because I still agree that, the marriage laws are unfair and the family courts is unfair. But sometimes, even with that being said, some of you adults actually need to have kids, because it will really taper your stupidity. Because once you have a kid, and you go, okay, if I do this might be on the internet for life, and my kid might come across this. My grandkids might come across this. I might not want to do that. Because see, but mind you, there's a lot of dumbass parents out here that are doing whatever they want to do on social media. And then they're like, oh, can't nobody judge me. And here's the principle. If you're one of those people who actually believe nobody can judge you, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. The same type of people that says nobody could judge me are the same type of people that call the police on other people. The same type of people that go to court and try and file cases on other people. The same type of people that manipulate other people to help them or not help another person will tell you, can't nobody judge me. Don't you ever believe a person who believes that they can never be judged. Ever. Because a person who believes that they can never be judged is a person who lacks morals. It ain't always about relationships. A person who believes only God can judge me gonna do whatever they feel right. And that's the flip side of that. Because if you were the type of person who feel like only God could judge what I do, well, when you run into a person that feels like only God could judge what they do, and they do it to you, what's the problem? You shouldn't be offended. You shouldn't feel like you need revenge. You shouldn't feel like you need atonement or retribution because only God could judge them. But it's not true. It's not true. You know, a lot of this stuff, it becomes wild and weird because people are solely, you know, people are overly concerned about relationships. And my issue about a lot of this stuff is, have you actually lived life? Have you actually lived? Do you actually have life experiences? Because what I'm seeing, the older I get, I'm seeing less people with actual life experiences. Let me tell you something. Going on vacation out of the country ain't really a life experience. That's a vacation. I ain't dissing nobody, but that's not a life experience. That's a vacation. Did you go through the ups and downs of life? Do you know what that's like? Do you know what it's like to take it? Can you take advice from people who've been through who haven't been through ups and downs? Could you listen to somebody and say, you know, if a person who's been through highs and lows in life and they tell you, yo, beware of this, beware of this, beware of this. You know, when you see this, that's a good sign, that's a good sign, that's a good sign. You know, then you go, okay, I appreciate that. Because people who have life experiences try to give you knowledge of life so you can go farther than they did faster. And the question is, how far do most people want to go? Because people say they want to be successful and people want to be great and I want to be rich. Is that really true though? Is it really true? Because most people don't want to do what it takes to be rich and successful. And most people want to be rich and successful just to feel rich. I could buy whatever I want. That's not the point of being rich, man. Being rich is not about, I just want to buy whatever I want. Being rich is actually about I know you're not going to like what I'm about to say. Being rich is really about buying your freedom. Societies and governments now has made it so that most people are working poor. And the idea of being rich is to pay your way out of having to be the working poor. Not to buy a Rolex, not to buy a Benz, not, you know, to ball out and fly here and fly there and drink what I want, eat what I want. That's not what it's about. That's a perk of it. But if you made enough money to never have to work for a person again, you know, that's successful. That's rich. And I'm gonna tell you what wealthy people and rich people don't do. They don't try to make other people rich. Contrary to popular belief, they don't. One reason is most people, they don't want to do what it takes, so they get tired of helping you. They'll help you try, but they're like, you know what? They give up because like, y'all people don't want to be rich. Y'all just want a freebie. That's what it's about now. And that's not about relationships. That's not about men and women issues. You know how many people got rich and then just blew it all for stuff they don't know? All this shit is just stuff. It's just stuff. You know. And everybody who's rich isn't the smartest person. They're not a genius. They're normal people. They're normal people who put their name on a piece of paper or put their name on something and became the face of something, or the person behind the product and it became successful. That's what happened. But that's not about relationships. And somebody might pop in on like, what does this have to do with the topic? Okay, let me run this back. there are people who constantly pop up on these pages who don't listen and whose only concern is about relationships. The topic can say something about politics and they bring relationships into it. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about? You know, people are bringing in relationships because they don't have life experience. And it's like, why did you do that? Relationships aren't the end all be all. They're not the end all be all. Great relationships are great to have. Don't get it twisted. I think, I think a lot of guys should listen to Andrew Tate's story, him and his brother's story. See, a lot of guys want to be Andrew Tate now. They don't want to be Andrew Tate when he was a kickboxer. They don't want to be Andrew Tate and his brother when they was eating food out of other people's Kentucky Fried Chicken buckets and saving it for dinner for themselves. They don't want to be Andrew and Tristan Tate then. They want to be them now. See what I'm saying? And you wouldn't get Andrew Tate now if there was no Andrew Tate then. And maybe he's trying to help you, learn how to be him now faster than he was. But then he got there. But here's the thing. Andrew Tate's father was basically a genius. He's a genius. And America held him back. But his sons went abroad and it's like, the country's not gonna hold me back. That's good. But a lot of these guys, they don't listen to that part. They listen to relationships. Oh, if I was with a girl, if I was with a girl. I don't understand how you in your 30s and you still trying to figure out what it's like to be with a girl. I don't. Yeah, I talk about relationships too, but damn, y'all don't have these experiences yet? I can talk about the things I talk about in retrospect, with hindsight. There's a certain amount of life experiences that people should have by a certain age that they're not having anymore. And it's becoming tragic. Very tragic that people are hitting their 20s, 30s, and 40s and they're having life experiences that they should have had in their childhood, in their teenage years, in their adolescence, and young adulthood. It's their first time running into stuff. I was talking to my lady about the childhood experience. Now you see all these things talking about kidnapping and trafficking, right? People don't realize it was less kidnapping and trafficking when I was a child and a teenager in the 90s because we had friends. A lot of these kids don't have friends. A lot of these kids just meet up at the mall if they have friends. They have friends gaming online. They don't have friends that they can actually ride their bikes with anymore. They don't have friends that they can go play basketball at the court with. They don't have friends that they can go play football in the park with. They don't have friends, that they can go to the game and watch the game together with. They don't have friends like that. Thus, what I'm saying is, you don't want your kid out at a certain time of night because they can get snatched up because they're by themselves. So if you don't have friends as a youngster, when are you guys trying to find friends? When you're out trying to go clubbing in your 20s in the dating market? Now you got friends and that's my wingman, that's my homie. We're going to get drunk and we're going to talk to girls. That's the first time you actually had a bond with a person. It's crazy. People don't play sports as much anymore. So they don't understand how to interact with different personalities. They don't. You don't understand a person might not look like you, or might not think like you, or grew up how you grew up, but they can be good at something. Like, dang, I didn't even expect that. They might not look what you think it's supposed to look like, but they can be good at something. You don't interact with people anymore. Like, it's not always about relationship. It's just about human interaction. A lot of people are using relationships as really their first time of learning how to interact with another human being. Because you didn't do it as a child. Because you were off to yourself, watching TV, playing video games, GTA, trolling people online. So your first actual interaction with a person might be as an adult in the dating market, which is ridiculous. A lot of you are not are getting over the anxiety of approaching at 25 that a person like myself got over at 12 at a 7th, 8th grade dance. You know, Sadie Hawkins, which y'all don't know about anymore, sock hop, which they don't do anymore. You know, a regular dance at the grade school, we got over that. But y'all missed out on those experiences. It's bad. A lot of y'all haven't seen y'all can't appreciate things. Y'all watch the heroes on TV. And one thing I can say about parents, in my era, the 80s, I was born in 79, but parents in the 80s and the grandparents of those times, every now and then, even though we didn't have much, they made it so you can see your heroes live and in living color. What do I mean by that? They made your dreams tangible. For all the kids who used to like Bigfoot, not, the monster truck. How many of us went to see Bigfoot and we saw it live and living color, and we saw somebody driving Bigfoot? It's like, wow. We like the wrestlers. Wow, like they look huge on television, and the characters are great, and they show up. They used to, every blue moon, they'd take us to a wrestling match. We like football and basketball players. They would take, we wouldn't go to all the games, but at least once in our lifetime as a child, they'd take us to a game and we might see our favorite player. And we see him live and living color, like, oh, wow. Wow. That's how they look. That's what it looks like. So they don't look magical anymore. They made them real to us. Like, if I could grow at least this big, I could possibly do that. They took us to see people that were dentists and doctors and lawyers, that were black, face to face, like, oh, I could do this? Yeah, they made it all real for us. It wasn't all internet. They made people look at you like, see, if you could see it on TV is one thing, but if you could see it, if we had a favorite recording artist, they'll take us to the concert. And you saw people in concert and you was like, oh, wow, they're great. I think I could do that. It gave us that type of, I think I could do that mentality. Like, I saw it now, okay? It wasn't, I want to hear people yelling my name. And da-da-da. It was like, no, I think I'm going to study what they're doing. I think I could do that. Exactly. So it becomes an issue because everything isn't about relationships. It's not. Never has been. But a lot of y'all don't understand that people have to use relationships because you don't have enough life experience. Relationships are your jumping off point to life. People did, well, people did. You know what? I would say people didn't ghost people as much, but what happened was, I'm a firm believer in understanding that people live life. I got a lot of friends, and I'm gonna be a buck with this. I'm very honest with this. I like all of my friends. Once I consider you a friend, you're a friend for life. But that don't mean I'm gonna talk to you every day, because you got a life and I got a life. It's not that I don't like you. It's not that I don't have love for you. Not that I don't love you. But guess what? I might be doing things and you might be doing things. And I understand that because I grew up with adults who had friends, who had family members that they loved. They didn't see their siblings in 10 years. They loved them with all their heart. But their sibling was in another state. They couldn't see him like that. They couldn't talk to him like that. They might write a letter every now and then. They might call every now and then. And 5-10 years go by, and then they will finally see each other. And they just want you to, and the love was always there. But they understood they had different paths at life. I don't think people get that anymore. And now we're so, people feel like, we're so accessible now because of social media. You can talk to this person, you can talk to that person. You're right. I could talk to all my family and friends all day, every day if I wanted to. But the problem is I wouldn't get a damn thing done. I wouldn't get nothing done. It's a certain level of respect for, hey man, people got stuff to do. They got stuff to do. And a lot of people don't get that, man. Because it's not always about quote unquote relationships. Sometimes you got to take care of your business. Sometimes in the last, let me say this. It's November. I think my birthday is next week. And what I'm about to say, it sucks. I'll be honest with you. It sucks. In less than the last 6 months, my son basically got kidnapped and left. My lady's only child passed away. One of my good friends and coworker passed away. One of my best friend's sister passed away. And the only reason that it doesn't affect me as more than it would is because I've been through so much stuff prior to this that it's just more stuff that just more stuff that happened. It's just more stuff that happened. And I think about it. You know what I'm saying? I think about it because sometimes I think for me, and it's unfortunate to say this, for me, it's just normal. And it's life. And I realized something along the way that a lot of people, I don't know many people who might be able to go through that, Yeah, I thought about that, But in life, man, a lot of things happen. Like, for me, man, and this is what I'm saying. I'm getting somewhere. I'm gonna run this back. As a child, I've gotten my throat cut. I've seen my parent, one of my parents get addicted to drugs. I've seen domestic abuse. I've been there when my mom got upset, got tired of domestic abuse, and woke up in the morning on top of my dad with a revolver, like, if you touch me again, I'm gonna kill you. Been there. and I was a child then, and it was so bad that I used to live in an apartment complex, and the kids used to make fun of me because they would hear all the fighting in the house. And I believe I got kicked out of school because I beat the shit out of a kid making fun of me because of that, because I beat him with a lunch tray. That wasn't the first kid I beat. That was the first kid I beat with a lunch tray at that school. And I beat another kid with a lunch tray at another school. And this is childhood stuff. Like all this stuff is, I'm saying, childhood. It's not a big deal. And and I remember, how can I say this? I got hit by a car. That was funny. I got hit by 2 cars as a kid. I got hit by a car and broke my arm. I was so young, it was crazy. But I got hit by my uncle, hit by a car and flew. I just kept playing after that. It didn't bother me. But I dealt with the racism of schools and teachers, young age, not a big deal. I never had, well, I ain't got to get into that. I've been kicked out before. Like I said, I had to sleep out in the bleachers in Chicago at my high school when I got kicked out of the house in the wintertime. More than one occasion. One time I broke back into the house because it was too damn cold. You know what I'm saying? And I was a really good kid. I wasn't a bad kid. I remember, how can I say it? One of the best, when I said I got arrested, my best friend in a 2-year span, he got me arrested in 8th grade. He got me, he needed me to help him, back him up because he got in beef, because he was a gangbanger. So I'm in the neighborhood with him. Guys trying to kill him. He didn't tell me that part, but I wound up being there. You know what I'm saying? Then the next year, he did it again, and we was on the back of a pickup like Smokey and Craig, and dudes was chasing us with shotguns. And needless to say, I stopped hanging out with him after that. He's still my dog, but he's not gonna get me killed. He almost got my uncle killed because my uncle had to pick us up. Ben had a girlfriend, and the dude was a gangster. He wanted to beat me up because he had a crush on her. Not understanding that I ain't one for that. So I punked him. Let's just say that. But I wasn't tripping at the time because he called like 30 people over. I was like, I don't care. So I wasn't bothered. No, this was in Chicago. Some of this is New Orleans, some of this is Chicago, some of this is the DMV. And the reason I'm saying this is because, like, I had a great childhood. You know what I'm saying? I didn't live with my mother completely until I was like a freshman in high school, because I lived with my grandmother a lot, and my grandmother died. Grandmother died my junior year in high school, but she left my freshman year of high school. So that was the first time I actually lived completely just with my mom. I lived with my mom and my dad for a time, but they was getting into it or whatever. So I moved back to New Orleans or whatever. And didn't live with my dad at all. But I would go visit my dad. And I had friends. We went bike riding. We went to the park. We played games. I went to the park. I was in that era where guys would play basketball and they'd go to the car and get a pistol and shoot up the joint if they lost. It was around all that other stuff. I was in high school where, like, I used to tell a story about walking from school, and me and my teammates, we wound up walking through a gang shootout. We just walking like F it, because it was so much drama going on at the time. We didn't care. So they were shooting, we walking through it, whatever. Like, man, whatever. Because it was that prevalent, and it was dumb. Looking back at it, it was dumb. But I've been, I remember going to school and being sick because I didn't have money to eat. I didn't have food to eat. Months at a time, I would eat at school, and sometimes I couldn't afford the lunch at school. Yeah, like I did like odd jobs because I wasn't old enough to work to make money, and I would save money. So I spent like a year and some change when in high school saving money just to have money to eat. But during I was playing sports and had walking pneumonia and being kicked out of the house. And my grades were just average because I was hungry, I was sick, I was going through it, but I still wanted to go to college. You see what I'm saying? So I still did what I had to do to get to college. You know what I'm saying? So for me, to me, it's none of that is a big deal. I'm being honest with you. And I remember going to college and I wanted to play sports. Me and the coaches got into it for no reason. You know what I'm saying? Really no reason. Because I wanted to play football, but I wound up running track first. And the track coach told the football coach that I was a troublemaker and I couldn't play football. And I was like, what kind of bullshit is this? So I transferred and had the same issue because I didn't know the track coach and the football coach at the other school. I didn't know they knew each other like that. So the track coach called the football coach at another school, like, don't do it. Like, damn, dude. And I was a person who, I went through all the things that you're supposed to. One of those people, when you say nobody gives you anything, you gotta earn it. I earned it multiple times and got the carpet yanked on me. Because, I got into the music business. I got an internship in college. I had to pay my way through my second half of college. Not a big deal. I worked. I was up 24 hours a day. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday. I think Thursday. I think from Sunday to Thursday I didn't sleep. It's Sunday to Thursday morning. Because I had a night shift job, classes in the morning, afternoon job, and an internship because I couldn't play sports no more because of all the drama. And that felt like my dream got taken away or whatever. So I was working an internship for Universal Records, and I wound up being homeless in college. Living out of my car, taking showers at friends' houses in the morning after work. Had a girlfriend I would stay over there Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and go back to work. Fell asleep driving plenty a day, almost died on the road. I think the worst experience was I woke up, I hit a curb and I woke up in the air, in the car, on the way to school, because I fell asleep on the way to school. Couldn't afford the books. So I was writing everything by notes and memorization. And at the time, I wasn't eating in college like that because I was doing so much. I got sick in college, had an ulcer, all kinds of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And when I got left, and at the time when I was living with my family, they was charging me rent. And it was weird because I was in college getting charged rent, and adults were staying with my family who had jobs, and I was paying damn near the same thing that they were paying. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. And I'm paying for my education. And I'm saying this stuff to say, yo, it's not a sad story because to me it's not a big of a deal. But relationships wasn't the problem with adversity. It was other things in life. I had to give up my internship, Universal, to work because I couldn't afford to just work for free at the time. And it was like a dream of mine. And then subsequently, ironically, my family member started a record label. And my younger cousin and my uncle were traveling with Cash Money and Murder Inc. While I was living out of my car, with an ulcer, still going to school and wanting to pursue a music dream. And then I started working. I started working, finding people to work with, make music with this, that, and the third. And I made a couple of albums with a crew. And that was around the time in Houston with Paul Wall, a comedian that was jumping off. And the guys I was working with had to find a weird way to beef with Paul Wall, a comedian, and they kind of ruined it. We was right on the cusp, but they ruined it because they were beefing with people for no reason. So that didn't pop off. I started doing things on my own. It took a while. I made music, whatever. That didn't pop off, but I went to South by Southwest. I did all that stuff. I work now. I got a job, this, that, and the third. Had kids, all that, whatever. Had a kid. And I say that to say this. Been through the poverty, been through the struggle, been on the cusp, but I might as well be in the streets to be a drug dealer because I need money, and chose not to because, I've been around cocaine for so long that cocaine and weed since I was like, let me see. I was around cocaine and weed in preschool. I knew what it was and what it was used for, and it was being sold before I was in kindergarten. So I say all that to say, when I look at certain things, I'm like, yo, bro, like everything I don't see how. And I had goals, I have dreams, I have aspirations. I still want to do things. I have adversities. You know what I'm saying? And I realized that people, I don't think, have been through enough to understand that in life, sometimes relationships are the least of your issues. Now, there's a lot of shit I didn't say. Because life is a long, expansive life. There's things that I didn't say that, could really far outweigh some of the stuff that I said. But, I've had family members, like during that process of being in college and being homeless, I had a family member steal my identity. So imagine by the time I graduated, I had to pay a gang of credit card bills because they just stole my identity, maxed out credit cards for cash. And I found out about it 2 or 3 years later. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying that was my part of that. What I'm talking about is my college experience. And I think about this, and I'm like, I'm not too sure if a lot of y'all get how hard life can be. And I don't consider my life a hard life at all. Now, some of the things I've been through in life, I don't think that some of y'all been through or y'all know what it's like. I don't think y'all know. But when I say it's not always about relationships, it's because it's not. Like, there are things out in this world that you might go through that you might have to be prepared for. How many people have had a family member or friend try to sabotage your success? How many? You know what I'm saying? How many? How many people have you known who befriended you to hurt you for their own quote unquote gain? How many? Like, I've taken, and as an adult, I've taken multiple people, whether they be family, friends, or coworkers, and I've taken, and I've let them live in my home rent free because I know how hard life can be, and every last one of them did some sucker stuff. Watch. This is why I say it's not always about relationships, and sometimes people don't get it. Like, I had a person who I had a coworker live with me, him and his wife, because they were buying a new home, and they said, "Look, Max, I'm gonna need 3 months. I'm like, cool, man, you good peoples, whatever. This fool, since him and his wife were here, instead of buying a home, they decided to build a home because I told him it was cool. So instead of being 3 months, he was here like 7 months with him and his wife, 6, 7 months. And this fool had the audacity to bring a chick in my house that wasn't his wife to cheat on his wife. And I gotta sit here and look at this fool because I know if it all goes bad, he gonna blame me. He asked for a favor. I let him and his wife stay in my house rent-free. He went from staying rent-free for a 3-month period so they could buy a house to building a house, and now he got his side chick in my house. And I'm like, bro, you really don't know how ugly I can get with you right now. Because guess what's gonna happen? Now his wife had an issue with me because I had an issue with him, but she didn't know why. She didn't know why. To the point, one day he had to find out how my personality could really be. He had his wife's car parked out front. No, they here, so it didn't matter. The alarm went off. And I'm thinking maybe they left, he came back, he set the alarm off, whatever. But he never cut the alarm off. So the alarm kept going for about 30 seconds. I said, okay. I opened the garage door and all he see is me holding that 5. And he like, yup. I wasn't about to ask no questions. The minute I saw, who it was, I had to put it down. His wife didn't even see it. When he saw that, he immediately changed his tune. Because it wasn't that I did what I did. He saw the look in my face when I just cut it off. He saw the look in my face when I cut it off, and it was like, and I saw it, and it's because his wife didn't see me. And when I cut it off, and I just walked off like, oh, okay, it's all good. At that particular moment, that fool was like, yo, I got to get out of here. Because if I keep playing with this dude, he's going to hurt me. And he knew I had the capacity to hurt him anyways. And I say that to say, a lot of times, if you haven't been through things in life, sometimes you're good to people, sometimes you're bad to people. Sometimes life is kicking your behind. Sometimes you deserve it, sometimes you don't. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? What's up? You know what? That's hilarious. I've had people try to get me locked up. Straight up, get me locked up. That was one of the funniest stories. I want to make a video about it. I had a friend of mine who was an ex-friend of mine get mad that I stopped talking to her. And she called the police and said that I sexually assaulted her. And I ain't talked to her in years at that time. Police came to my house on Valentine's Day looking for me. I'm like, what the hell y'all talking about? A lot of this stuff don't have to do with quote unquote relationships. It has to do with people's principles. And if you haven't been through enough things, you don't know how to deal with it. Y'all, like, sometimes you gotta have, for me, I have stories of things that I actually went through that were sometimes ridiculous, sometimes hilarious. There's multiple times when I almost got killed by the police. Multiple. And there's a few times when I had to tell the cops, hey man, you ain't got no backup. You keep pushing them, I'm gonna beat the brakes off you. And I've done that a couple of times. So think how many times I almost got killed. You see what I'm saying? Like, life is, if you don't experience life, man, you don't know how to handle things calmly, relaxed, concisely. He's like, okay, here we go again. I know how life works, man, because I've been through a lot of shit. And what I'm saying is sometimes y'all gotta go through some things, man. It ain't gotta be purposeful. You don't have to make yourself go through some drama. Life is gonna bring you a lot of BS. But life brings you a lot of good things, man. A lot of good things, man. It's not like I said, it's not always about, like, even with relationships. I've had some great women in my life, and I've had some great women in my life that I just had to let go, just had to let go of. Not because they weren't great women, not because we couldn't work great together, but things in life got in the way. And most of those women have gotten married and they got kids, and I'm happy for them. I had a friend recently tell me, and we were just friends. She was like, she was one of those girls that was going to be single, no kids, never get married, not be with a man. And maybe about 2 weeks ago, if that, she wound up calling me to check up on me because I ain't talked to her in a minute. She said, you know what? Yeah, bad timing. Nothing wrong with her or me. And there's multiple occasions. But I remember her, she said, I'm with somebody now, and I gotta just say thanks because you let me know there's quote unquote good guys out there, and I was really giving guys a bad time. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I appreciate that. I said, so you mean to tell me, and I was being a jerk. I was clowning though. I was like, so you mean to tell me you ain't give me nothing all this time, or now you want to thank me for somebody else hitting it? And she's like, you know what? Shut the hell up. But it was funny. But it was like, sometimes you could be cool with people. A lot of y'all don't realize, sometimes you haven't been through enough in life to know sometimes it's just cool to be around cool people. Even if you're a man and they're a woman, if they're a good person, a cool person, and you can learn something from them, it's all right to be around them. It's all right, Maybe you can't have sex with them. That's all good. They learn things from you, you learn things from them, and you move on and you bring it into your life. It's dope. But it's not always about just having a relationship, man. Sometimes you got to go through stuff to see that. The reason why, and I say that, the reason why I know I'm knowledgeable on a lot of different things is because in my lifetime, I've met a lot of different people from a lot of different places. And even if I didn't travel places, they've told me about what's going on here, going on there, what's going on in people's culture, what it is, what it's not. When I was in college, I ran into two chicks from Morocco and Ethiopia. Cool chicks. They hit me to a lot of things. I had a homeboy from Nigeria in college. I met a guy in college from Jamaica. Had a homeboy from New York. Had one from Miami. Had one from L.A. And this was after the fact that, I was already born in New Orleans. I knew what New Orleans was. I knew what Chicago was. I knew what the DMV was. So I was running into people from every different walks of life. People from the suburbs, people from the hood in different places. I want to say I had a homeboy from Oakland. I think Seattle too. No. Nigerian cat moved to Seattle. My older cousin was in Mississippi, and he ran into people. And I had family. I got family in Compton. I got family in Philly. I got, I got family in Atlanta. So every now and then, I would go play here and there every now and then. Been to Indiana, Ohio. And I learned over the years, even as a teenager, because the furthest west I had been until a few years ago was Texas. And I went to Vegas a few years ago. I never went to L.A. Never went to L.A. But I got friends from L.A., male and female. And they tell me what's going on with the culture, what's this, what's that. That's how I know. I knew girls from St. Kitts and Nivets, that's in the Caribbean, the Dominica, not the Dominican Republic. People from Argentina. When I was in New Orleans, my grandma lived in the Vietnamese side. The other family lived in the black side. So you gotta, you learn things about people. You see what I'm saying? You learn the idiosyncrasies about people. Chicago, in my opinion, is probably one of the best places to grow up in America because it's so culturally divided. You got a black part, Mexican part, Polish part, Jewish part, Greek part, Russian part, Italian part, Puerto Rican part. And because of and everybody, like, when you're in somebody else's territory, they make it known. Whether it's the streets, whether it's the businesses, whether it's the people, they make it known. It's territorial. One of the most coolest places that I grew up in, most racist place I probably grew up in. There's way more racist than New Orleans. But if you don't learn them life lessons, you don't know it. Like when I was in the DMV, I was actually in Maryland when Doug Williams won the Super Bowl. When he was the first black quarterback to ever win the Super Bowl, I was there. I was there then. I was there when the Marion Barry thing happened. I was there. You know what I'm saying? In New Orleans, I was there for the history. But when you meet people from different places and they tell you, yo, it's like this over here, it's like this over here, this is what we do here, this is what we do there, this is how we grew up here. Then you realize how things connect, how people are cool and people are different. Like the people from St. Louis. You start realizing how different you are and how alike you are. How different and how alike. How different cultures are in different places, how different people act. And what's the code of how to conduct yourself within black people and outside of black people. But people don't, when you don't talk about that, people don't get it. It doesn't register. It don't register. If you've been around military brats, that's the same thing. I've been around military brats. I lived here. I got a homeboy in college who wound up living in Alaska, and he became a narcoleptic because of that season where it's all sun. It's all, like, at a particular point it's all sun, and at a particular point it's all night. It's all day and one time and it's all night. He became a narcoleptic like that. He was in the military. So you learn different stuff. Like, that's how I learned of the all day and all night seasons in Alaska. Like, I ain't with that. The guys that would go off, like the guys that went to the Gulf War, they would tell you about Iraq, and they'd tell you about Kuwait, Qatar. They tell you, hey man, it's this, and this. I got guys in the military that I work with. They were working in the Navy on the ships. Guys in the Air Force. You know what I'm saying? Guys that were in Army infantry. They tell you, like, yo, this, and this. Guys that were Marines, this, and this. I've been around guys who were martial artists. Been around guys who were fighters. They teach you this, and this. It's not always about the male and female relationship. It's got to, like, if you have more life experience, you get around more people, you realize, okay, I could learn so much. So sometimes I might know something because I remembered what somebody told me about something. And sometimes you got to put that shit into action. I've been around rappers. I've been around producers. The same family member that started the record label, he got me a session that I bombed. I bombed a session with Tony Draper when he had Suave House. Psychodrama was there. I was horrible. I just blew it. And then years later, he actually got me a session with No ID in Atlanta. Killed that mother. Killed it. It's just, at the time, No ID kind of went through a problem, and we couldn't keep in touch. But I'm pretty sure if I ever talk to No ID and I say I'm such and such, and he's gonna remember exactly who I am. Because the session he had was with some R&B cats. Before that was horrible. They bombed, and I was like, it's not gonna ever happen again. I did all that. I sent demos out, and actually got some. I sent demos out years later to record labels, and I got a response from Atlantic. Was the biggest response I got. Didn't say much after that. They liked it, but it didn't go any further than that. But what I'm saying is, I've been around the block, and I've seen things, and I've done things, and I've been with people and talked to people, and I've experienced a lot of different things in life. Yeah. Yes, Common. Yeah. Yeah, No ID is a cool dude. He was a real cool dude, you know. So when brothers are trying to tell you about life experiences outside of things, you gotta go, hey man, like it ain't just about relationships. Like, true story. I got a good friend of mine. Before he went, he was in the military. Before he went, we was in college together. And because of my upbringing and some of, quote unquote, my street IQ, I could see things coming that he couldn't see. We go to a nightclub in college, and this guy is mean mugging, acting real reckless, like little guy. I'm not a big guy already, but he's smaller than me. And I forgot about this shit. And my homeboy, he's a troublemaker too at times. And he's about to get into it with this little dude. And I said, hey man, stop. And he's like, what? Stop. I was like, that little motherfucker over there is not here for a fight. He's here to shoot somebody. And my friend was like, what? And because me and him were friends, and we were in college, and he understood the places I lived when I grew up, he took my word for it. He took my word for it. He said, I said, hey, don't mess with him no more. I don't care what he say. He not here to fight. He here to shoot somebody. You see how big you are? You see how little he is? And he barking. He trying to shoot you. So he took my advice. And I mean, it was maybe about 2 or 3 years ago. And this happened like in 98. About 2 or 3 years ago, he said, hey man, remember that time you told me in that club not to mess with that little dude because he was gonna shoot me? And I was like, nah. He said, man, you done a lot. You didn't say this a lot of times. But he was like, I don't know if you know this, but when we left, there was a shooting. I'm like, well, he's like, bro, I don't, you saved my life. Because I would have kept messing with that dude. He probably would have shot me. He's like, there was a shooting at there. I'm like, hey, man, it is what it is. But you got to have life experience, man. That's why I said it always ain't about relationships, man. It ain't about relationships. Yeah, man. Like when I tell people, when I was in high school, let me say this. And when I say about the street stuff, when I was in 7th grade, the most popular kid in our grade school got shot in the head when I was in 7th grade. 8th grade, nothing happened. 9th grade, how can I say this? Guy got in the streets, got killed, but he really didn't get killed. He was with an old head in the gang who had him, trying to put in work, and got the young man shot. And instead of taking him to the hospital and dropping him off, he took him to the hospital and dropped him by a dumpster, and he died. Couldn't even get it, he died on the side of the hospital by a dumpster because he couldn't crawl to get into the hospital. One of my good friends, he got into a shootout the next year. Another friend got into a shootout at a concert. Automatic shootout, police chase, him and a mutual friend of ours, because they was real tight. He winds up going to jail for the shootout, but the guy that was with him, he basically told the police like he ain't had nothing to do with it. I just lost it and went off. So he basically was stuck in a ride with me while I'm shooting at people. So while that homeboy is in jail for the shooting and the shootout in public and the police chase, he made sure his homeboy went home because he's like, he ain't got nothing to do with it. People don't do that no more. And the dude really didn't have nothing to do with it. But people don't take a charge and say, hey, this person ain't got nothing to do with it. They was with me, I flipped out. That's not what we doing. Like, he ain't going to jail because of me. It's all on me. Yeah, it was my car, it was my gun. I lost it, and he just happened to be a victim of circumstance. Yeah, exactly. This was high school. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, a guy got 47 years for body. And he was a guy from a good family. He had no reason to be shooting nobody. Friends got killed. Subsequently, guy got out of jail, got killed. His brother got killed. You know what I'm saying? People got tortured. Eyes gouged, arms gashed. Other people got killed. Remember, a homeboy of mine he got shot because he ran into somebody from high school at a corner store, and they were pregnant, and they were going, and he just bought him some Pampers because like, man, it's good to see you, blah, 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 blah. Her boyfriend came out of the blue, thought he was cheating with the guy, shot him. And it's like, yo, I had a friend in college who got, who wound up having a baby with a guy, and he wound up in the baby, but he was, sexually assaulting the girl. And she didn't want me to destroy this dude. So what I'm saying is sometimes, a lot of y'all don't live enough life to know kind of things, man. Like y'all don't know what it's like to have. I don't understand sometimes people's life experiences because I didn't know they didn't experience enough. I mean, I'll be real with you. Like one of the best. I had a great childhood, even with all the shenanigans. And one of my best childhood experiences was my granddad had a stroke. He was bedridden. And we used to take his Insure. Like back in the 80s, if y'all know, people at hospitals used to give out Insure packets like a mug. So my older cousin was trying to gain weight. So he was taking my granddad's Insure and a Joe Weider creatine and ice cream and milk and making these big shakes. And my granddad was bedridden. He couldn't speak because of the stroke. And me and my cousin are arguing. And I'm like, yo, what are you doing? He's like, I'm making a shake. And I'm like, yo, put the top on the shake, bro. Put the top on a blender. Man, I could do this all the time. And I'm like, no, you can't do this. I'm like, I'm probably 7. My cousin's like 17. And we arguing. And I'm like, look, if you don't put the top on that blender, we gonna, you gonna really mess this up. He's like, man, forget what you're talking about. I walk outside of the kitchen. I say, you cut it on your own. I'm leaving. My cousin cut that blender on, and all you heard was the spinning and the splash, ice cream and milk and Joe Weider and Insure everywhere. Because he's splashing and he's screaming. And my granddad busts up laughing. He's laughing so hard, he's in tears. He can't talk. He's bedridden, but he's crying laughing. And the backstory is, I come to find out my granddad's bedridden because he got into a fight with my dad before I was born. And my dad sucker punched my granddad in the stomach. And he subsequently had a stroke afterwards. And all them years, the years that I spent with my grandfather, he was bedridden, didn't say a word, couldn't say a word. That was the best childhood moment I had with all my grandparents. And I love my grandparents to death. But that was my first lesson of learning that you don't have to speak to somebody to have love for somebody and have a good time. We made it our business to give my granddad a good time. After that, we would play like Nerf basketball on the wall in front of him. We would do all kinds of stuff to put a smile on his face. And I don't think people have those experiences anymore. And I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Y'all don't really know what it's like to live and to actually have empathy and to actually go the extra mile for somebody else. Y'all don't know what that's like. And I don't think people do. It's crazy. It's crazy. Because it's like relationships the only thing. And it's not, man. It's not. It's the reason why I'm bringing this up in general is because it's like, man, I don't think people realize it's so much going on in life, even outside of success, just life itself, that people are missing out on. And I think sometimes we just too sheltered. Like, don't be so scared that you can't deal with can't face adversity. You can't deal with the ups and downs of life, because it's worth it. It's really worth it. You know what I'm saying? It's really worth it. But I'm gonna get up out of here, man. I'm gonna get up out of here. Because I think, like, people don't, understand that sometimes people are not talking about just relationships. They're talking about life. And they're using relationships as a way for you to understand it. Because I don't think some of y'all really have lived enough to know what life really is like. The losses, the wins, nothing. Like, some of y'all have it real easy, man. And I'm happy that y'all have it easy, but damn. Like, y'all really don't know how hard people got it, how hard people got to work to get to what some people's family made normal. Y'all really don't. And that's sad. And if not having a relationship is your worst issue in life, I'm gonna be honest with you, you got a pretty good fucking life. You got a pretty good fucking life if that's your worst issue. If you got a weight problem, you know what I'm saying? If your self-esteem is low, you got a pretty good fucking life. If that's it. But it is what it is. I'm still sick. I'm gonna get out of here, man. Like, share, subscribe, or die. Try and catch y'all on the next one, man. Peace.
It looks like a job for Superman.
Do this,
Spoken from the lips of the young or the old, there are many.
Yeah. Gotta put it all in.
And there are Supermen.
All the way. I guess I'm taking off the cake through the glasses in the trash. Being super is great, saving y'all is such a drag. Even God took a break, me I ain't coming back. I got one life to live, if you don't like it, that's your ass. Cause nobody saved me, plus when I walk, I'm just a peon. I could use somebody just like I'm the kings of neon. This world is cold as ice, mixed with salt, mixed with freon. They got me pissed off, but that's better than being peed on. For eons, human beings took kindness for weakness. When you constipated, you start to appreciate shit. Put before you life and death, and you just gotta choose. The kryptonite life means you still follow the rules. If your credit's messed up or your bills ain't paid, then it's getting disconnected. Can't nobody say the day. And I can fly, leave a building in a single bound, but I can't stand fair weather friends, and I just fly around. My super friends in Justice League, only folk I kick it with. Kill Lex Luthor, so what, we had to finish it. Kids play games and adults play for keeps. And me, I play to win, but I ain't playing in these streets. And life is not a joke, then again it ain't this serious. Superman can say the day, but God can say the Superman. Saga of the kryptonite, life just ended. You enjoy listening? Man, I finished it. Lois, come holler at me. I got an ice couch. Thank you for coming out, listening. I knew you would like it because we made it. I'm so frigid and so fly.